Good evening. Welcome to Mr. Sandsman. It's 10:05 in the UK, 5 p.m. EST. I guess I always get this wrong. It's about 2 p.m. in Pacific language, isn't it? Pacific time. Thank you for joining me this evening. It's been a long week, and I've been doing dropping little bits all week just to kind of get people excited for this episode. I really enjoyed doing 1981. There were a lot of surprises in there. And 82 is a good year. It's not the best year, but it's still worth a conversation and a vote, and you know, to see what your thoughts are and where you would rank certain movies. I'm guessing we all know what's probably going to come out on top. But then again, last week, you know, things were a little unpredictable. So who'd have thought The Beyond would have finished so low? And I had a lot of messages sent to me afterwards saying, what were people thinking? Why was The Beyond so low? I think it's because maybe a lot of people hadn't seen The Beyond and were voting anyway. But I think all we ask is that if you haven't seen a movie, folks, just abstain, and we get more of an accurate representation. But welcome. See, there's a lot of you here already. We've 46 people already. That's fantastic. Really pleased with that. Good to see so many of you in the chat as well. We've got Shamrock, Marisol's here, Steve Ross, Chester's here, Paul's here. He says The Thing wins. End. You would think so, but then again, you never know with these votes. Tony Four Eyes is here as well. Who else? We got John Jones, Frank's here. Hey Frank. Stephen Green. Hey Stephen. Duke. And Johnny's here as well. Hey Johnny. Thanks for your message last night, by the way, mate. I haven't forgotten. I will get that voucher out to you. And Andrew Stevens as well. Andrew, if you weren't aware, you won the TSL raffle yesterday. So reach out to us and we'll get that voucher over. I'm cross-plugging here. Wasn't PG invented for Poltergeist? Neil's here as well. How you doing, Neil? Who else? And Tony Four Eyes says he swapped shifts to be here. Wow, that is something. Let me just pin the voting link in the chat here. 1 second. See if I can get that there. There is your link to do the voting tonight. If you haven't done this before, folks, there's a link I've just posted in the chat. Click on it, and then each time I activate the vote, you're welcome to make your choice, whether you want to rank the particular film that we're talking about in first, second, third, fourth, or fifth. The system aggregates it all and then places the film where the sort of average vote lies. And then within that tier itself, it ranks them from 1 to however many film titles are in that tier. So if you're closest, if the film is closest to the left, that means it's in first place, and then as it goes down, it will be last place in the first tier, and so on with each tier. So there's a ranking for first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, and also, if you like, a ranking within each tier as well. So it's fairly, you'll get the gist of it if you haven't done it before. What time are we on at the moment? We're at 10 past 10. We'll just give it another couple of minutes. What I'll do in the meantime is I'll just go through some of the some little facts and things from 1982 just to jog your memory about the year. E.T. Phones Home, Steven Spielberg's E.T. the Extraterrestrial, premiered in June 1982, became the highest grossing film of all time until Jurassic Park came out in 1993 and made everyone cry over a glowing finger. The compact disc is born. Sony and Philips released the first commercial CDs and players in 1982 in Japan. The very first album pressed on CD was Billy Joel's 52nd Street. We also had Michael Jackson's Thriller in 1982. Thriller went on to become the best-selling album ever and brought zombies into the music video mainstream. Also in 1982, the Commodore 64 launched. The beloved home computer debuted in 1982 and became one of the best-selling computers of all time. For many, it was their first taste of gaming at home. Any of you guys have a Commodore 64? I think I had one late on, but initially it was Spectrum, Dragon even. There was a UK computer, a Welsh computer called a Dragon. Blade Runner and Tron hit theaters. 1982 was a landmark year for sci-fi. Blade Runner introduced us to dystopian future noir, while Tron wowed audiences with groundbreaking computer-generated visuals. Yeah, I'm not sure they look too groundbreaking now. Never really been a fan of Tron. Never really been a fan. Diet Coke makes its debut. Coca-Cola introduced Diet Coke in July 1982, instantly becoming the go-to soft drink for calorie-counting soda fans everywhere. And Knight Rider roared to life. David Hasselhoff and his talking car KITT debuted on TV in 1982, giving us one of the most iconic theme songs. Theme song? Was it a song? I guess it was that guy talking over the top of it. And sidekicks of the decade. Time's Man of the Year is a computer. Time magazine ditched humans entirely and named the computer as its 1982 Man of the Year, acknowledging the rise of the digital age. Cats takes Broadway by storm. Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats opened on Broadway in 1982 and became one of the longest running musicals ever. Despite the divisive 2019 movie version decades later. And then Wyatt's put this last. I don't normally like reading out things like this, but in 1982, April 1982 to be precise, Argentina invaded the Falkland Islands, prompting a 10-week war with Britain, a major event in UK history that defined Margaret Thatcher's premiership. Yeah, maybe we could have put that in the middle somewhere. Okay, let's just have a look at the chat before we start. Paul says, I still have my Amiga 1200 and full kit. Hasn't been connected forever. I wonder if it still works. Actually, you probably wouldn't be able to connect it to the telly now, Paul, because I'm guessing something like that would have go in via a coax or something, not HDMI or SCART. Maybe it's got SCART. I don't know. Who cares? Tony Forai says, I was 9 in 82. Where have all the years gone? What's Frank saying here? What did he say? Am I missing something? Oh, yeah. I still have a Commodore 64. Typing on it now. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. But the good thing is, folks, for those of you who saw the members stream over on TSL yesterday and last week's TSL movie podcast, he's finally opened that Google Pixel 10 that's been sitting on his shelf for like 3 weeks now and pissing me off. He's finally unwrapped it, set it up, and he was sending me loads of really cool pictures of it today. So well done, Frank. It really cheered me up. Okay, let's move over to this stream here, this screen here, sorry. And our first movie that we're going to vote on tonight is Alone in the Dark, for those of you that remember that film. We're going to start the voting exactly now, and I'm going to cast my vote as well. So I've done mine already. Okay, so Alone in the Dark, released on October the 1st, 1982, limited in Michigan, and expanded on November the 19th, 1982 in California and New York. Budget of $1 million, grossed about $1.4 million in the US, with mixed reviews, 69% on Rotten Tomatoes. Directed by Jack Shoulder. Jack Shoulder, who did Elm Street 2, I believe. I think he was also the editor on The Burning, if I remember rightly. Music by Renato Serio. Cast, which included Jack Palance, Donald Pleasance, Martin Landau, Dwight Schultz, Erland Van Lith. The synopsis is, during a blackout, 4 dangerous mental patients escape confinement and terrorize a psychiatrist's family. If you looked at the video that I put on at the start there, you would have seen Donald Pleasance in like a chef's outfit or a diner outfit or whatever, hacking the guy in two. That's what that's from. That's Alone in the Dark. Also featured prominently on Terror in the Isles as well, for those of you that have seen that. You would remember Martin Landau going after that hat from The Postman. I want that hat. 9 seconds left, folks. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, and we're in the middle. Only 14 of you voted this time around, even though 27 of you are taking part in this at the moment, as of right now. One of you voted it in first place, 2 of you in second, 7 of you in third, and 4 of you in fourth place. So it sits in the middle. This won't really start to take shape until we progress. For those of you that are new tonight, those of you that have seen this before, you'll understand how things get quite tight a little bit later on. Neil says, I don't remember this one, but remember the name for some reason. Yeah, the poster. It's kind of weird because the poster like sort of sells it like it's some sort of slasher, but I never really saw it as a slasher film at all. It's kind of more like a home invasion than a slasher film. Paul H says Alone in the Dark is pretty bad. Adam Allen says I love Alone in the Dark. Brilliant. Paul Rose says I still type 885 on my calculator. Never grow up. Exactly. Tony Four Eyes says Martin Landau was a proper nutter in this. The hat. I want that hat. It's good. It's got a real cast, a real solid cast in this film. Tony Four Eyes says, I bet you got a copy. I haven't watched it. I bet you've got a copy you haven't watched yet, though, Paul. Lol, you always do. Oh, okay. I see. Right. Yeah, Paul's probably got it lying around somewhere. Myers Fan 73 says 1982 was the year of failures that became huge classics over decades. I guess, yeah, there's some truth to that, I guess. I can see a few films just glancing at this now, whereas they were probably not very well received at the time, but people look back on them incredibly fondly now. Rhubarb Giraffe, welcome to the channel. That's a great name. The first was me. It was accidental. I thought red meant a low rating. No, red is the top. So if you look at the screen there, the red is first, orange is second. Then the slightly different, muddier color of orange is kind of third. Yellow's fourth. Green is fifth. Okay. Brandon says, "Hey, Brandon says I really love Alone in the Dark. It's a great collection of actors. I haven't seen it for a few years. I did remember liking it, and I do want to get. I know that there's a great who did it now? I think Scream Factory have done a special edition of it. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting my hands on that. It's been out a little while now, but I'll catch up with it. Okay, let's kick off the second vote. Here we go. And it's for Extro. God, any of you remember this? This is a British horror film, which was on the Video Nasties list. Came out in 1982 in the UK, but I think in some places it may have come out in 83. Often cited as a 1982 British sci-fi horror. Its UK release was... Its UK release was 83. I think its US release might have been 82. Right, budget of 60,000. 60,000? They did quite well for 60,000. Sorry, I just saw the super chat. Thank you, Ronnie. Ronnie says, love you. Thank you, Ronnie. That's really kind of you. A gross of 1 million, so a hell of a return for this film. Directed by Harry Bromley Davenport. Music by Harry Bromley Davenport as well. A man abducted by aliens returns 3 years later, but not quite the same. Strange events follow, including bizarre transformations, toy soldier vengeance, and body horror as he struggles with his identity and his family. I just remember, I watched it actually quite recently and bought it quite recently as well, because we did a Nasties episode where we talked about this. There's a woman that gives birth to a full-grown man at the start of the film. It's an interesting film. I think it's kind of a franchise. I think there's been 2 or 3 of these now. But yeah, let's have a look where you guys are putting it in the middle so far. Vote is now up. And yeah, we're second place on the third tier. Only 12 of you voted on this, so I guess a lot of you haven't seen it. 50% of you put it in third place, 25 in fourth, and one of you put it in last. With those teeth, you can tell it's British. Talking about mine. I've spent a lot of money on them recently. Okay, Extro is absolutely bonkers. Extro is bonkers, says Lee. Marisol says, I couldn't find Extro anywhere to stream. It wasn't available. You're not missing much, Marisol. I watched it. It is mental, and I would say it's one of those films that is one and done. I kind of liked it for the fact that it was this kind of really off-kilter British horror that feels more like an American film when you're actually watching it. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Ronnie says, damn, I think I sent 2 by accident. 2 what? 2 super chats? Really? No, just the one came through. And Shamrock says, is that Charlie Bucket on the poster? Kind of looks a little bit like him, I guess. And Rubber Gorilla says, giant action man in this film. There is. Well, Action Man is obviously G.I. Joe in the US. So there is a giant G.I. Joe that's wandering around. And I don't mean like the live action film. I mean like the G.I. Joe doll chasing somebody in this film. It's bizarre. Adam said it's on Prime in the UK. Yeah, probably is now. Paul Rose says, don't think the sequels are connected. Mark Singer is in one of them. The Beastmaster himself. God almighty, how times had fallen. He went from Beastmaster to an Extro sequel. Poor Mark. Poor Mark. Okay, let's kick off the vote again. And this time we're voting for Visiting Hours, Canadian horror. I'm just going to put the link in the chat again for those of you that are new and you can't see the original link. I'm sure you can, it's pinned, but it's good to remind people. Okay, Visiting Hours, released in 1982. There's no month here, but a budget of 6 million, a box office of 13.3 million. Jean-Claude Lord directed this with music by Jonathan Goldsmith. Any relation to Jerry, I wonder? Cast is Lee Grant, William Shatner, of all people, was in this as well. Michael Ironside and Linda Pearl. A journalist, Deborah Borland, is critically injured by a sadistic killer. After recovering in hospital, she becomes the target again when the killer... Let me just vote before I forget. When the killer follows her to the hospital to finish what he started. Yeah, this one's kind of an odd one. Michael Ironside, I believe, from memory. Frank bought me this, actually. It's on the shelf. I have watched it because we did cover it on one episode. He plays the killer and is dressed up in like cross-dressing as a nurse, I think, in one of the sequences. A bit like Freddy. Okay, 6 seconds left, folks. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and vote is up. And we're first place in Tier 3. So first place in Tier 3, Visiting Hours, Alone in the Dark second, and Extro is third. Pat says, hey folks, off to dinner and then Spinal Tap 2. Enjoy. It's a nice film. I hope you enjoy it, Pat. It's good. Shamrock says, I love Spinal Tap. Brandon Collins says, Mark has had a strange career. He has, for sure. He's done some right old shite. Okay. Michael Ironside is great in Visiting Hours. He plays a great villain. He does. And it's shot really well. That's the one thing I remember about it, is it's so beautifully shot, is this film. Tony Four Eye says, the best thing about Visiting Hours was the trailer and that skull in lights. You're not a fan? Neil says, I don't remember this either. I've failed you all. It's worth a look if if it's free and you've got time. I seem to remember quite enjoying this, but haven't watched it since the 80s. It's kind of got a bit of a Dress to Kill feel to it. A little bit. Hospital horror, What's Not to Love. Yeah, there was a few around then, wasn't there? Obviously Halloween 2. X-Ray as well, I remember, that was set in a horror film set in a hospital. Darren won't allow me to advertise them, Marisol. What do you want to advertise? Let's have a look. What's Frank want to advertise? Oh, I'll give you a site. Oh, yeah. One of Frank's dodgy, moody sites that he watches movies on instead of paying money for them. My Physical Media Live says Michael Ironside was pretty much in everything around then. He was in a lot of stuff. I mean, this was just after Scanners, I think, if I remember rightly. And Paul says, I hope you're wearing the appropriate cucumber. Okay, that's a good time to start the next vote. So let's kick that off. We're now, oh, The Thing. The Thing's come up pretty early in the proceedings. I thought it might come up later, but no, it's come up fourth. So here we go. Let me just cast my vote. And The Thing, obviously, released June 25, 1982. 15 million budget, only 19.6 million at the box office in the US. Directed by John Carpenter. Music by Ennio Morricone and John Carpenter. Kurt Russell, plus ensemble of researchers in Antarctica, it says here. Researchers in Antarctica discover a shape-shifting alien thing that assimilates and imitates other organisms. Paranoia, mistrust, and grotesque transformations ensue as they try to determine who is human. Initially met with mixed to negative reviews and underwhelming box office, praised for its effects, atmosphere, and cold, isolated dread. Over time, it has achieved classic status and is often cited as one of the best sci-fi horror films. I would say one of the best films, never mind sci-fi horror films. Memorable moments, the blood test scene, the dog transformation, the betrayal moments, the progressively disturbing creature effects. 5 seconds left to vote, folks. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And I can't believe 2 of you have voted it in last place. What the hell is going on? 34 of you voted for this. 31 of you voted it for first place. 1 of you voted it in second place. And 2 of you voted it in 5th place. If you're one of the people that voted in 5th place for The Thing, please put yourself in the chat and justify your actions. I'd love to hear why you would think that this is worthy of 5th place, unless you got the voting wrong. Unless you got the voting wrong and you pressed the wrong end of the voting buttons. Come on, own up. Own up. If you're out there and you voted this to be in last place, let's hear from you. Let's hear why. I'm interested. Brandon says, Frank's OnlyFans site is something to see. It is. It is. DJ Qualeb, is that right? Have I got that right? The Thing, Tenebrae, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, Pieces, The Seduction, Slumber Party, Massacre, Extra, Alone in the Dark, Poltergeist, Parasite, Creeps, How, Forbidden World. Okay. Oh, Creepshow, it says there, not Creeps How. It looks like Creeps How. I'm a bit like bloody, what's his name? Liam Neeson. I watched Naked Gun last night. And he said to somebody, you've been brought in for man's laughter. Manslaughter. Anyway. Where are we now? John Jones, finally something I can vote on. Frank says, thanks, Brandon. All back. And oh, Jesus Christ. John Jones says, such a great movie. My wife's favorite Carpenter film. Got him to sign the poster for her, and it proudly hangs outside her bedroom. That's nice. Excellent. Tony Forsyth says, Darren, it's not fair to have the effects of The Thing up against the rubber masks of Monster Club. Hey, Monster Club's got its audience. It has. I thought really hard about putting Monster Club in here, and I decided it was a good idea. Physical Media Live says, even if you never saw The Alien, The Thing would still be great. Absolutely. Adam Allen says, how can you not love The Thing? Myers Fan 73 says The Thing, the greatest horror movie ever made. End of story. 1982 audiences were absolutely wet. And Paul Rose says, one of my favorite movies and one of the best ever made, in my humble opinion, a masterclass in tension. So has anybody actually owned up to voting this? Those 2 who voted in 5th place eat their steak well done with ketchup. Feast your peepers. Hey, Colin, how you doing, buddy? Brandon, could you put Colin's YouTube channel in the chat if you can find it. Colin's doing some great content over there talking about his rare collection that he's got, some really, really cool versions of some early 80s horror, late 70s horror, that kind of thing. He's covered, what has he covered? Last House on the Left. I just watched your Dawn of the Dead one the other day. He's done Night of the Living Dead. Loads of different episodes. Hills of Eyes he did as well. Some really cool stuff. Dylan says, was the 4K of The Thing a massive improvement of the Blu-ray? I wouldn't say a massive improvement, but it looks good on either Blu-ray or 4K. It does. It really does. And the soundtrack as well is awesome. Hey, where are we now? Does anybody own up to voting fit? No, they didn't. Okay, well, shame on you. Voting is commencing now for the next film, and it is The Slumber Party Massacre. Okay, I've cast my vote, and let's have a look at The Slumber Party Massacre. 79 seconds left, folks. Released on September the 10th, 1982. Budget of $220,000, a box office of $3.6 million. Directed by Amy Holden Jones, music by Ralph Jones, Michelle Michaels, Robin Style, Michael Viella, Deborah Laliso, Gina Hunter, all those actors you know from yesteryear. A high school senior hosts a slumber party with her friends while her parents are away. An escape killer with a power drill is loose in the neighborhood and begins targeting the girls. Mixed reviews on release, considered derivative by some, but praised for pace and shock value. Over time, it's gained strong cult status among slasher fans. I actually really like this film. I saw it for the first time only a couple of years ago, and I think it's got some great photography in this film. I think it's got some really cool shots, some of which I used in the intro video that you saw earlier. I think there's some really, really clever camera work in this. And obviously a great poster as well. 15 seconds left. It's currently sitting in first place in the third tier. 26 of you have voted. 5 seconds left. 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Okay, so it's in the third tier. I think a lot of these are going to sit in the third tier, I think. So, 2 of you voted it in first place, 6 in second, 13 of you in third, 4 in fourth, and 2 of you voted it in fifth place. Let's see what the chat is saying about Slumber Party Massacre. Slumber Party is top, says Frank. Nope, never seen it, says Paul. I think there's 2 or 3. I think there's at least 2. And there may have been a remake, if I remember rightly. John Jones says, decent film. I have fun with it, but it's not my favorite slasher. I still remember renting the entire series on VHS when I was 13. How many have there been? Can somebody remember how many there's been? I know they recently did a double pack of this on 4K. Tony Foray says, I watched Slumber Party again today. Forgot how dreadful it was. Halloween, Black Christmas, bad ripoff. It is a bit of a ripoff of those, and that's, you know, exactly what I said there. It's known as being quite derivative, but I do think there's some great camera work in it. You know, those kind of low angles, lots of, you know, stalking with feet, and then all of it. Not that I like feet, but then, you know, homing in on the weapon in the guy's hand. There's a bit where he's got a cleaver, I think. But obviously we know that for the bulk of the movie, he's got this fucking big drill. Brett Patrick says, hi, Darren. I'm a little tipsy dog. I was out entertaining clients at a golf outing. Excellent. Fantastic. Rick M says, I think there were 3 Slumber Party Massacres. I couldn't remember whether it was 2 and a remake or whether it was 1, 2, and 3. I think there might have been a remake. Maybe somebody can... the second one is a semi-musical, is it? No, really? Wow. If that's true. I haven't seen the second one, so... Okay, let's kick off the voting again. So we are now voting for the New York Ripper. Let me paste the link again. Lucio Fulci's New York Ripper. I love Lucio Fulci, but I always struggle with this film. Released in March of 1982 in Italy. Grossed 1.4 billion lira, which isn't a lot. The critics have this at 25%, and the audience score is at 53%. Music by Francesco De Masi, Jack Hedley, Almanta Kellis, Howard Ross, Paolo Malco, and Andrea Ossifinti. Alexandra Del Colli as well. A burned-out New York detective and a psychoanalyst try to track down a sadistic serial killer who slashes women in New York City, using a strange duck voice caller and various brutal set pieces. Yeah, there's some really weird stuff in this film. There's some really brutal stuff. Tony Four Eyes says, yeah, 1.8 billion, 1.4 billion lira is about £3.50. 20 seconds left, folks. There's a really brutal scene in this with a razor blade, which is tough to watch. I always remember this. Paul, your kid sent me a copy of this when we were kids. That's when I first saw it. 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay. Where are we landing here? We're landing second in the third tier. I thought this might have done higher, but only 19 people voted for it. 16% of you, just 3 of you voted it in first place. 1 of you voted in second, 10 in third, 3 in fourth, and 2 in fifth. Paul Rose says, remember the trailer? Not the movie. Probably saw it, but blends into all the others from the Nasties age. Yeah, it's a pretty nasty film. But it's kind of like... every time I watch it, I'm just kind of hugely put off by the every time he's killing people, which, yeah, it's just so off-putting. And I think, if I remember rightly, the detective in this film is the same detective that was in what was the film called now? The other Fulci film, the one that's kind of like the Flashdance one that I've recently just watched. God, what was it called now? Murder Rock, that was it. Murder Rock. I think it might be the same guy. Physical Media Lives. Is that Alan? Is that Alan? Yeah, Alan. I saw the message earlier on. Thank you for that, buddy. I look forward to your new channel. Is it's set up, I take it, given that you've got this YouTube name? He says, for providing high quality content, Darren. This is Alan, by the way. No, thank you, buddy. That's really kind of you. Thank you. I saw your message earlier on before we started, and I forgot to mention it. But good luck with the channel. I'm sure it'll be great. I don't know if you've ever done one before, but yeah, I'll look forward to checking it out for sure. And if you have a link, I don't know, maybe Brandon can put Alan's channel link in the chat there. Maybe we can start you off with some subs before you get going. That would be cool, right? Matt says, so this is the one where Donald Duck is the killer. That's right. The detective lead was in an episode on Only Fools and Horses. Really? Okay. Donald Duck always had anger issues. Murder Rock, yes. Duke says, so Darren... Was he really... Who was he in Only Fools and Horses? He wasn't the guy that played Del Boy's brother that time that rocked up, was it? I seem to think that I'm sure he was in Murder Rock as well. Brandon's put the link to Alan's channel up. Alan Meggs, he's a great supporter of a lot of the UK YouTube channels, and starting his own channel next week. So, folks, if you wouldn't mind going over there and giving him a sub, just to kind of get him off the ground, that would be fantastic. That would be great. I wonder if I can... I'll go on afterwards. I don't want to screw up my layout at the moment, but definitely, Alan, I'll go over and give you a sub. Because you know what? When Frank and I first started, there were a few people, and one in particular that really got behind us, and you know, gave us a foot on the ladder. So it's always good to support those that are starting out, I think. Right, where are we now? Let's start the next vote, and the next vote is for Tenebrae, more Italian horror. Dario Argento's Tenebrae. If I can find it on my list here, released on October 1982. Exact budget's not really known, but I would guess it was probably a couple of 100,000. Modest success in Italy and parts of Europe. Not a blockbuster. Critics have gone back and reappraised it over the years. Directed by Argento, as I said. Music by Claudio Simonetti. That great score for this film. Absolutely fantastic score. There's a few ex-members of Goblin that contributed to this. What else have we got here? Cast: Anthony Franciosa, John Saxon, Dario Nicolodi, who's obviously a Dario Argento regular, Giuliano Gemma, Mirella D'Angelo, Veronica Lario, and John Steiner. Horror novelist Peter Neal comes to Rome to promote his new book. Soon after arrival, a series of murders begin that seem inspired by his novel. As Neal helps police investigate, he faces personal ties to the crimes and discovers the killer is someone connected to him. 20 seconds left, folks. Initially met with some controversy, the violence and the graphic murder scenes, especially with censor issues, but over time it's been reappraised as a stylish, thematically rich giallo with strong craftsmanship. Many consider it among his bests. 3, 2, 1, 0. It's certainly one of my favorites of his. I think it is my favorite. I don't know, Deep Red's up there as well, but yeah, great movie, really great movie, and one of my favorite kills in horror, which is the axe through the window on the girl's arm, and then as she stands up, she almost creates this amazing like Jackson Pollock painting with the spray from her arm. It honestly, I think it's one of the most beautiful kills in horror. It just looks stunning, and so real as well, with that axe drops down on her. Such a cool film, really, really cool film. Alan says, bless you, Darren. Have you set a high bar? You've set a high bar, and I'll do my best to get somewhere near it. I'm excited. I'm excited for you, Alan. It's great. Rick says, I just rewatched Tenebrae a few months ago, and it still holds up well. It does. Marisol says, I absolutely love Tenebrae. The score was awesome. I felt like I was at a club. Isn't it great? Did you watch it recently, Marisol? What else have we got here? Myers fan says, if only Argento could do anything as half as good as Tenebrae in the last couple of decades. Exactly. Whatever. Horror Rocker says, Johnny. Hey, Johnny says, I love Tenebrae. Brandon says, Veronica Lario is the ex-wife of Italian President Silvio Berlusconi. Right. I think I remember you saying that before. A Royal Flush, the only Fulton episode, he played the detective. Oh, did he? Oh, A Royal Flush. I wonder. I've seen them all. I'd have to check it out again. Adam says, just saw Tenebrae last year and loved it. Steve Ross says, I really liked Tenebrae, watched it earlier this year. Well, Tenebrae finishes in second place. 23 voters. 9 of you voted it in the top. 10 of you voted it in second. 4 in third. And nobody in fourth and fifth. So a lot of fans of Tenebrae out there. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that it did so well, given how the Beyond fared last week for such a really cool, one of the best Italian horror movies ever made. Okay, let's kick off the next vote and see what that is. It's Swamp Thing. Okay, Swamp Thing. Let me just find my notes on Swamp Thing. Obviously, Wes Craven, 1982, budget of $2.5 million. Precise box office gross not reliably documented. It performed decently in theaters and found more audience in home video and cable later on. Directed by Wes Craven, as I said. Music by Harry Manfredini. Ray Wise, Dick Durock, Adrian Barbeau, Louis Jordan, plus supporting cast such as David Hess. Was David Hess in Swamp Thing? Wow. Oh, actually, somebody did mention. I haven't seen Swamp Thing since it came out. I wasn't a fan of it, to be honest. In fact, I'm going to vote now. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Swamp Thing. 43 seconds left. Scientist Alec Holland is transformed into the plant-based monster Swamp Thing following sabotage at a bioengineering lab. He battles evil forces led by Antoine Arcane to protect both the swamp and the woman he cares about. Appreciated for its monsters in rubber suit charm, ecological themes, and being a somewhat unconventional comic book adaptation. Critics noticed some campiness, but also praised it for its entertainment value. 10 seconds left, folks, to vote for Swamp Thing. 25 of you have voted already. It's not doing too good. 5 seconds left. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Vote is over. And we're in 4th place. One of you placed it in the top tier. 6 of you in 2nd. 3 of you in 3rd. 15 of you in 4th. And 1 in 5th. That's incredible. I actually thought there were more fans of this out there. I knew I wasn't a fan, but let's have a look. Let's see what the chat is saying now. Jamie Rowe. Thank you, Jamie. Good to see you in here. Thanks for joining. Marisol said she just watched Tenebrae for the first time on Monday and loved it. Good. It's such a well-shot film as well. There's some really, really cool camera angles in that. But Brandon says Argento had one of those runs that rivals Carpenter's and an equally steep drop-off. Yeah, so like Deep Red, Suspiria, Tenebrae, Phenomena. God, what was the other one? Was it Inferno? Was it? I think as well, if I remember right. Yeah, he did some great stuff in the sort of late 70s, early 80s. Hey, Neil, good to see you. Brandon says, never been a huge fan of Swamp Thing, but I really love a certain scene with Miss Barbeau. Oh. Swamp Thing has always been one of my favorite non-Batman DC films. A classic monster movie, and the cartoon and live action show are both great follow-ups to this awesome film. Did they do a second Swamp Thing film? Did they not? I can't remember. Awesome 50 says, I'm ashamed to say Swamp Thing is the only Craven film I haven't seen. Wow. Justin says, I remember having a VHS of the Swamp Thing cartoon. Didn't realize there was a movie. Yeah. Daz says, sorry, Wes, but this is awful. I gave up on rewatch and just skipped to his audio commentary to finish it. And Paul says, it was a reasonably fun watch. A bit cheap and cheerful, though, but it does have Adrienne, the lovely Adrienne, yeah. Max Dela Cruz says, going to watch John Carpenter's The Thing in theaters in about an hour. It will be awesome to finally see it on the big screen. Excellent. I have seen it on the big screen, but in a cheating way. I remember years ago taking the Blu-ray into work and watching it on our cinema screen in the office. We got quite a big theater in our office, so I watched it down there once in my lunch hour. Where have we got now? Inferno is amazing. Yeah, Opera as well. Opera's a nasty little piece of work. Inferno is amazing. There was a TV series recently that apparently was good, cancelled after first series. Yeah, it was Derek Mears, I think. You know the guy who played Jason in the remake? I believe he played the Swamp Thing. I think so. Feast Your Peepers. Colin says, Opera was Argento's last really good film. He had the odd decent one in the 90s, but nothing compared to his 70s and 80s output. No, I agree completely. If you've ever seen his Dracula film. Oof. Okay. Right, let's kick off the next vote. See what's next. We have Silent Rage. Chuck Norris in a Halloween ripoff. Released on April the 2nd, 1982. Critics were mixed. Not among Norris's best reviewed efforts. Horror fans really like this film. I really like it as well. Although I just don't need to see, as Frank and I said when we talked about this film, I don't need to see Chuck Norris's arse in a sex scene. That's not what he's built for. Directed by Michael Miller. Cast includes Chuck Norris. There's no other cast listed here. Okay. A small town sheriff must defend the town when a killer thought to be dead is revived by doctors after a brutal attack, gaining superhuman strength. The killer goes on a violent spree that the sheriff needs to stop. Seen as a typical Chuck Norris vehicle, combining horror with action and appreciated by fans for the novelty, the axe killer and invincibility, I guess, though not high art. Of course it's not high art, it's Chuck Norris, but it's that kind of unstoppable. I think Ron Silver's in this. Is Ron Silver in it? I think Ron Silver's the doctor who kind of brings him back and gives him these superhuman powers. But yeah, it's an interesting film. I don't quite get as many of the Halloween references as a lot of people do. Like, it doesn't feel like Halloween, but there's a lot of influence there, I think. Okay, the vote is up. And 22 of you voted on this. 3 of you voted in first. 13 of you voted in second. 6 of you in third. And no one voted anywhere else. That's incredible. So as it stands, Silent Rage is your second favorite horror film of 1982. Remember, folks, when we get to the end of the decade, I'm going to take the top 2 from each year of the decade and put them into a mix that we'll vote on for the overall winner of the 1980s. So that'll be in about 8 weeks' time or something. If I can keep up with this. I should be able to. The nights are drawing in, so I should have plenty of time to do this. Okay. The Stendhal Syndrome from the 90s is a good late Argento. Okay. I don't think I've seen that one, I don't think. Tony Four Eyes says, Darren, how do you watch a 2-hour film in an hour meal break? I go early and then come back a little later. That's the thing. I'll go at 12:30, come back at 2:30. Now we do things like that now and again. I think it was quite a long time ago. We do it just to kind of for a team morale thing. You know, we will watch other companies' movies from time to time. Where are we now? Daz says, I like the Stendhal Syndrome, but cannot get my head around the fact that he shot a sexual assault scene with his own daughter. Oh, yes. Now I know what you're talking about. Because in the Argento documentary that's on Shudder, they talk about that, which is bizarre. Arja's in it, isn't she? Yeah. Directing his daughter in those sort of circumstances. Okay, so Silent Rage. Paul says, remember quite enjoying it, not seen it for a long time. Daz says, I don't think I've ever seen a Chuck Norris film other than The Way of the Dragon. If you want a decent Chuck Norris film, if you want to test the waters, try the Delta Force. For me, that's one of it. Because the Delta Force isn't just a Chuck Norris film. It's like a 70s disaster ensemble about a hijack on a plane. It's really, really cool. It's got a huge cast. Brandon says, I read Chuck's autobiography when I was a kid, and he talked about how embarrassed he was by that sex scene. I'm not surprised. It's just like so un-Chuck. Awesome 50 says, Silent Rage, loved this when I first saw it on rewatch. I wasn't as good as I remember. Still fun, though. Yeah, Ron Silver, I thought, was in it. The boogeyman checks under his bed for Chuck Norris. Feast Your Peepers Colin says, Silent Rage is a good attempt at a slasher, but I prefer Bronson's 10 to Midnight. So 10 to Midnight I'd seen years ago with my dad, and I hadn't seen it since then until like a couple of months ago, and I watched it, and it was okay. It wasn't as good as I remember, and I certainly didn't think it was as good as a lot of people fondly recall. It's definitely a Charles Bronson slasher film. And the killer's like butt naked all the way through it, isn't he? Where else have we got here? Daz, how about missing in action movies? Nick Holmby says Silent Rage was more like Absurd than Halloween, and Absurd's supposed to be like Halloween, right? Isn't that true? Tony Four Eyes says the Delta Force is as corny as hell and based on a true event. It is. Feast Your Peepers. There's a lot of love for the Delta Force. A great film. In fact, Frank and I did an episode on the Delta Force with Ronnie and Blake over on All the Good Names Are Taken. It was great fun. Okay, let's kick off the next vote. Here we go. What's it for? Poltergeist. Now, this is going to be interesting because we have The Thing and Poltergeist. Where is Poltergeist going to land? Poltergeist, obviously directed by Tobe Hooper, although some beg to differ. June the 4th, 1982 is the release date. Budget of 10.7 million. Box office of approximately 76.6 million in the US and 121.7 million worldwide. Music by Jerry Goldsmith. Great score in this film. Jo Beth Williams, Craig T. Nelson, Beatrice Straight, Dominic Dunn, Olivia Robbins, Oliver Robbins, Heather O'Rourke, Zelda Rubinstein, and James Caron. A suburban family's home is invaded by a malevolent ghost. Their youngest daughter, Carol Ann, is abducted into another realm as strange phenomena escalate. They enlist spiritual help to rescue her. Critically praised and commercially very successful, seen as a modern horror classic. Strong emotional core, technical effects, memorable scares, and consistently ranked highly in horror film lists. It's sitting in second at the moment with 36 votes, 37 votes. Is anybody going to vote this and take it over The Thing? 7 seconds left, folks. If you haven't voted, vote now. 3, 2, 1, 0. It's second place in the first tier. 37 of you voted. 43% of you, that's 16, voted it in first place. And 43% of you voted it in second. And 5 of you voted it in third. So it remains in second. Let me just check on this here. Yeah. So when you flip between the two, you can see there that 91% of the vote went to The Thing in first place. Only 43% of the vote went to The Thing, to Poltergeist in first place. So it finishes second. The Thing is way above it. Absolutely way above it. But still, interesting. I wonder if it'll hold that slot, because we do have movies like Friday the 13th Part 3 to come, Amityville 2, Creepshow, Halloween 3. I wonder if any of those movies can, well, I don't think they'll dethrone The Thing, but certainly they've got a good chance of coming second, I think. So here we go. Let's have a look at the chat. I'm talking about Delta Force here. Shamrock says, Poltergeist, the best horror movie of the year, in my opinion. Love it. Interesting. Chester says, Poltergeist is fantastic. Great house horror movie. Great score. Jerry Goldsmith, they're here. Poltergeist is good, but I've never been quite as big on it as others seem to be, says Rick. Marisol says, Poltergeist is still scary. That's how great a movie it still is. Beach Dad says, Sean Clark just stayed and done a hilarious video in the house from the film. Yeah, apparently, I'd love to do this, but apparently it costs thousands of dollars a night. You can actually stay in the Poltergeist house, like an Airbnb. And Sean did it with a bunch of friends and then did a live episode, well, not a live episode, but recorded an episode of The Thing with Two Heads from there. But I just loved the way that they decked it out in all that sort of 80s nostalgia with all the kind of posters and peripherals and games and decor in there. It looked fantastic. And Poltergeist for me is, you know, I saw it around the time that it came out. I didn't see it at the cinema, although I wouldn't have been able to in the UK because I know it was a AA rating and I wasn't old enough to go in. But in the US, as I did a little video on during the week, was actually a PG. Now, when you look at that, now I know there was no PG-13 back then at that time, but it was it was amongst the catalysts to bring a PG-13 in the US. And when you look at Poltergeist and you see some of the content in there, particularly, I mean, the guy pulling his face apart, is that really PG-rated stuff? It's that Spielberg magic touch again. He's always had his way with the ratings board, being able to kind of convince them that, you know, this is all good spooky fun, like he did with the likes of Jaws. You know, that was you know, a family monster movie, and the same with Jurassic Park as well. He managed to convince the UK censors, the UK ratings board, that movie was a PG, even though someone got bitten in half in it. That movie's a PG because you can put a special warning on there just for this film. And yeah, he got away with a lot over the years. And Poltergeist, to me, it staggers me that movie was a PG. Paul H says, dare I say it, that Poltergeist is a little overrated? Yeah, that's your opinion, buddy. Paul Rose says, very good film, but not quite top tier for me. Daz says, directed by Tobe Hooper, but Spielberg is the auteur of the film, kind of like a showrunner for a TV show. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you look at it. There are so many set pictures of Poltergeist with Spielberg on set. There are also a lot of set pictures of Spielberg with the kids from both E.T. and Poltergeist, which were filming around the same time. So I wonder how much time he actually spent on the set of Poltergeist. Having said that, when you listen to Mick Garris, I think, was unit publicist on that film, and he was there all the time. He says in no way did Spielberg direct that film. He says he may have been around to offer advice, but it is 100% a Tobe Hooper directed movie. And he's a fairly legit source. He's a man of his word, is Mick Garris. I love Mick Garris. That guy, you know, it's such a shame he stopped his podcast because it was fantastic. But he swears blind. And, you know, he was a lifelong friend of Tobe Hooper's, and so obviously wants to stick up for him. He swears blind that Spielberg didn't interfere in any way. He said he offered advice but never interfered. And I kind of get that. I know nothing Tobe Hooper's done has ever looked or felt like that before. But then when you look at Jerry Bruckheimer's movies in the sort of 90s, when you had that aesthetic that he brought, whether it was Tony Scott directing or Michael Bay or Simon West, you know, doing Con Air, all of those movies have got a similar look to them. And it's Bruckheimer's production. That's what he's bringing to it. Maybe the same crew members throughout those films. And so I get that it can be easy for people to believe that Spielberg did direct or had a huge hand in directing Poltergeist. Anyway, I'm going on too long about it. Pre-ordered the film Arena Poltergeist a while back, due out soon. I think it's due out in the next few weeks. There's that and The Shining. Poltergeist, a bit of classic. They're here. That clown at the end, the bed scared the shit out of me. Still holds up well today. It does, very much. Rock God, hey Nige, how you doing, buddy? Well, hello, you big handsome bastard. I've only just stumbled on this. Poltergeist has been my first vote. Tenebrae should definitely be the first in the first category. Yeah, I'm surprised it's in second, Nige, because last week when we did this, The Beyond ended up in the fourth place. Fourth tier rather than fourth place. Brandon says, I don't think anything is topping The Thing. That film is up there with The Exorcist for the greatest horror movie of all time. Shamrock says The Thing's overrated. Too many Carpenter fanboys. Look, it would be the same here if we were doing a Jaws ranking. Okay, love the humor in it too, especially the TV at the end. Yeah, when he kicks it out on the balcony. Superb stuff. Physical Media lives. Hiya, mate. Oh, God, that's Nige saying hello to Alan. Rubber Gorilla Mass says, haven't heard AA rating said out loud for a while. Yeah, that was kind of the equivalent of a 15, I think. And Tony Four Eyes says, we were tougher in the 80s, Darren. Well, I guess so. Shamrock says, Darren, do you know that was Spielberg's hands, yet no one dies in Poltergeist? Oh, yeah, the hands pulling the face apart? Yeah, absolutely. I knew that. Yeah. Brandon says Spielberg wielded a lot of power even in those days. He was very good for business. Absolutely. And still does now. Poltergeist is definitely a collaboration as it's equal elements of Hooper and Spielberg, says Myers fan. Eli Cortez. Hey, Eli says, what's up, Darren, and all you Sands fans? Thank you. Okay, Auto Theory is 100% to blame for the rumors. Spielberg ghost directed the film. Tobe Hooper directed it, but Spielberg developed it and was present throughout. The rumors are unfair to Hooper. Yeah. Spielberg only had to walk on the set of the film to be a hit in the 80s. Yeah. And Daz says, Mick Garris is awesome. Much better interviewer than filmmaker, though. Yes, I'll agree with that. Although he's done some okay stuff. David Daughtry says, hey, Darren, currently on holiday from work, cracked open a cold beer to watch another incredible video. Thank you, buddy. And Shamrock says, well, let's put it like this. Hooper never directed a movie before or after like Poltergeist. You can see a lot of Poltergeist in Jaws, Close Encounters, right? Yeah, no, I agree with that. But you could say that about Simon West, who directed Con Air. Never done anything that looks, sounds, or smells like that since, but yet it's produced by Jerry Bruckheimer. Okay, let's kick off the next vote, and it's for Pieces. I love Pieces. Pieces is great fun. 90 seconds to vote, folks. I'll put the link in there. Hey, Blake, good to see you, buddy. August the 23rd, 1982. It actually was released, so it was released in, obviously it's a Spanish film, so it was released in Spain first. US release in Los Angeles in October of 1983. Budget of 300,000, a box office of 2 million. Director Juan Piquer Simon. Music credits are multiple Spanish geezers, and Fabio Frizzi as well is one of the musical credits on here. Christopher George, who I last saw in City of the Living Dead, I think he was in. Paul Smith, Edmund Purdom, Linda Day, Ian Serra, Jack Taylor. Female students at a Boston college are being, let me just get my vote in, are being murdered by an unknown assailant who is using their body parts to build a human jigsaw puzzle. A detective and others try to stop the killer. Low-budget exploitation slasher with graphic gore, criticised for misogynistic tone and weak suspense, but has strong cult following for its over-the-top violence and so bad it's good appeal. 8 seconds left to vote, folks. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. There we go. Adam Allen says, bastard. For £2.50. Is that quote from the film? I'm trying to think now. Is it? Okay, where are we now? So Pieces finishes in fourth. Well, on the second tier. It's second on the second tier. And it's actually in fourth place at the moment overall. So 16%, 4 of you placed it in first. 10 of you in second. A lot of love for Pieces here. 25 of you voted. 6 of you in third and 4 of you in fourth. And 1 of you voted it in fifth place. It's a fun movie. It really is. Let me see what Feast Your Peepers Colin says. Love Pieces. Such a wacky film, but a lot of fun. It's a nasty film. That scene in the elevator. Love Pieces, best acting of 1982. Yeah, I voted Pieces for first section because it's so batshittingly brilliant. Absolutely love it. I've got 2 amazing collector's editions of the Blu-ray and about 4 or 5 soundtracks on vinyl. Excellent. Thanks, Nige. You don't have to go to Texas for a chainsaw massacre, says Dylan. Rubber Gorilla Mask, Neil says, Pieces... it's just disappeared. 1 second. Pieces is such a great film to watch drunk with friends. So much fun. Oh, yeah, bastard. I've forgotten about it. Of course. Pieces is ahead of Tenebrae. No way. But, it's all about... It's not. I mean, it takes an average vote, so it kind of doesn't really matter how many people have voted, I guess. Blake says, I reviewed this with Ronnie, 4th place for me. Don Max says, I only saw Pieces for the first time a couple of years ago and was disappointed by it. Given this high ranking, I think I need to watch it again. Yeah, it might be a good idea. Let me just have a swig, folks. 1 second. Okay. Brandon says, I saw Pieces when I was about 7 years old and my life is enriched because of it. It's a lot of fun. The reveal at the end's great as well. Frank says, Pieces got me into puzzles. No copycat business going on there, was there, Frank? Gory Tiger says, what's up? Hey, Gory Tiger. Good to see you. Nick. Wow, just wow. Pieces above Tenebrae. The world has gone mad. We know that. Yeah, Pieces just 1 place above Tenebrae at the moment. So in first place, we've still got The Thing, second Poltergeist, Silent Rage in third, Pieces in fourth, and Tenebrae in fifth. 95 of you watching at the moment, folks. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. Okay, let's start the next vote. And it is for The Monster Club. Now, who remembers The Monster Club? This was a British horror film with Vincent Price. Came out in the UK. It's all over the place as the release date. Some countries it was in 81, some it was in 82, some it was in 83. And so I've placed it in 82, just in the middle. Took approximately 1.7 million in the US. Considered a commercial failure in its original release. The critics have got it at 75%. Directed by Roy Ward Baker. Music by Douglas Gamley. There's lots of punk rock interludes by bands including B.A. Robertson, The Pretty Things, UB40 are on the soundtrack as well. Vincent Price, John Carradine, Donald Pleasance is in this as well. Stuart Whitman, Britt Eklund, Barbara Kellerman, Richard Johnson, Amy Steele, Patrick McGee. It's a who's who of British acting talent from that time. A horror author, let me just check the time. We've got enough time to read this out. Yep, we have. A horror author is bitten by a vampire named Erasmus. As thanks, he's invited to the Monster Club, a secret gathering of supernatural creatures. There he hears and witnesses three tales. So it's kind of an anthology movie as well. The Shadmock, the vampires, and the ghouls. 5 seconds to vote, folks. I think I saw this in the cinema, if I remember right. Okay, the Monster Club has 14 votes. 3 of you voted it in first place, 1 of you in second, 6 of you in third, 2 of you in fourth, 2 of you in fifth. And it sits on the middle tier in 1, 2, 3, 4, in fifth place. So near the bottom at the moment, unfortunately. Nigel says the Monster Club is great. The Blu-ray is really cheap. It's such a good anthology. Vincent Price is his usual brilliant self. Daz says, never seen this. Used to get it confused with Monster Squad. I think that happens a lot. Certainly over here anyway. I'll give it a watch with that cast. Yeah, absolutely. There was another one came out around the same time with a similar cast called House of the Long Shadows, which had Carradine and Vincent Price and all those guys. Loomis, I think, yeah, Christopher Lee was in it as well. Loomis is the vampire killer. Did you just watch this week as well? Paul says it's a mess of a movie. Fun for Vincent Price, but even the monster masks in the club were embarrassing. Oh, yeah, those dance scenes in the club, they're awful. Monster Club, what a cast. Enjoyed it loads. Good. Don Mack says the Monster Club seems so much like an early 70s movie. Kind of was, yeah, I guess. And Frank says anything with Price never fails. Cool. Okay, let's move on. I'm just going to post the link. If you haven't voted yet, folks, feel free to do so. The link is in the chat. It's pinned in the chat as well. Just click on the link and you'll see a little panel. Red is the top of the table. Green is the bottom end of the table. And then you've got all those lovely colors in between as well. So let's click play. Madman Mars. A movie that I only saw for the first time about 4 or 5 years ago. I'd missed it all those years ago. People were telling me to watch it. Frank and I did an episode on TSL of this. Had a great time watching this movie. Directed by Joe. I'm going to butcher it. Joe Giannone. Music by Stephen Horlick. Budget of approximately $350,000 with $1.3 million at the box office. And Galen Ross from Dawn of the Dead's in this. Tony Fish, Harriet Bass, Seth Jones, blah, blah, blah. A lot of names you've never heard of. And Paul Ehlers as Madman Mars. 43 seconds to vote. Legend of Madman Mars, a killer who slaughtered his family, was lynched and returns when campers at a site tell his name aloud. A group of counselors become his targets as they are hunted in the woods. Mixed critically, the sentiment, but has become a cult favorite, especially among fans of early slashers and low-budget horror. Drive-in showings help build its reputation. 20 seconds left to vote, and it has one of the most bizarre hot tub scenes. Yeah, really weird, where they're just kind of circling in a hot tub for a good 2 or 3 minutes before anything happens. Galen Ross and some other dude, I think. 1 second left. There we go. Madman is in second tier? You're kidding. Come on. I told you there'd be some surprises. So Silent Rage is the top of the second tier. Pieces is second. Tenebrae third. And Madman is fourth on the second tier. Wow. Nobody voted it in first place, but 8 of you voted it in second. 8 of you voted it in third. 5 of you in fourth, and 1 of you in fifth. 22 of you voted on Madman. A across the board. And as I said earlier, folks, if you haven't seen anything, then it's probably best not to vote, so we can keep this as accurate as possible. Nigel says, I really like Madman. It's no Friday the 13th, but it's still a great little slasher film. It is. It's fun. It is fun. Paul says, I actually quite like this one. A great monster killer with genuinely creepy moments and soundtrack. And Horror Rocker Johnny says, that hot tub scene. Yeah, the hot tub scene's amazing. Alan says, was given the Arrow edition of Madman recently and had a blast with it. It's fun. It really is. It's worth a watch. Brandon Collins says, Galen Ross was a good actress. It's a shame she only did 4 films. If I remember right in Madman, I think she's like the final girl and gets killed. Am I right in that? I think she does. The hot tub scene is pure 80s cheese. It's not bad, says Colin, but I think it's overrated. I had the original pre-cert VHS of this back in the day and still have it on DVD. And Shamrock says, I just realized I bought Madman on 4K. Yeah, I think Arrow just got fucking carried away with this film and printed tens of thousands of them, and they just can't shift them. They're always putting it in their sale. Even the special editions, the limited edition version, is always available from Arrow. Jason, hey, Jason, Backtrack Cinemas in here. 5th, easy. 5th. What? Oh, Madman? Really? Okay. Well, I know you're a big Friday the 13th fan, so you probably see it as a complete blatant rip-off, I'm sure. Kill Shield says, Extra on sale in HMV. Yeah, that's another one that there's plenty of them kicking around, I think. Tony Vorai says, thanks for the spoiler, Darren. It's fucking 43 years old, man. Pull yourself together. John Jones says, Madman is such a good slasher. I really need to get a copy of it to watch more often. And Tony Forai says, it's free on YouTube. Exactly, Darren. Yes. Yeah, dumb girl. She was already on the bus, then goes back. Yeah. And Adam says, Galen gets it in the end. She does. She does. Okay, let's move on to the next vote. Let's see where we are with this. What's next? The Last Horror Film. How many of you have seen this? So this is David Winters directed this film, released in Sitges Film Festival in October the 9th of 1982. Caroline Munro and Joe Spinell, who I think both were both in Maniac. Pretty sure they were. A disillusional New York City taxi driver called Vinny is obsessed with a horror actress, Yana Bates, and follows her to Cannes. Kidnap is his fantasy, and violent murders start to tie into his obsession. Set against a real... Yeah, they filmed this, I remember now. They filmed it against... at the Cannes Film Festival whilst it was all taking place. Not many of you voting on this one. 40 seconds left. This one was a substitute because I actually put the Final Terror in here for 82. And I actually found out that whilst a lot of sources cite it as being made in 82, it actually came out in 83. So I switched it out at the last minute. It was either this or Q Winged Serpent, but I went for this in the end. And it was probably a bad move because nobody's seen this film. 13 seconds left. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Yeah, Caroline Munro did a lot of these kind of movies. She was a kind of B-level actress in the UK. Always appeared on 321, the quiz show, if any of you remember that. But yeah, it's not a particularly great film. 42% on Rotten Tomatoes. It says here, cult classic, plays for its self-reflexivity. Really? A horror film about horror film fandom. Spinell's performance as well is highly praised in the guerrilla-style filmmaking because they were shooting on red carpets without permission and all that kind of stuff. Criticism comes from the pacing, which, yeah, I think it's a long time since I've seen it. It probably is quite slow. The gore cuts and being a low-budget slasher hybrid. Only 8 of you voted on The Last Horror Film, and it's finished last in the 3rd tier. Okay, let's have a look at the chat. Feast Your Peeper says, I have a 4-disc German Blu-ray of Extra. Came with a t-shirt. Cool set. Really? Like, what are they filling 4 discs of extra content? I mean, where are they getting all that stuff? I guess you've got a Blu-ray, a DVD, a 4K, and what, a soundtrack or something? Shamrock says, yes, they were both in Maniac. Yeah, I thought they were. Brandon says, I've only seen parts of this, so he's abstaining. Don't remember seeing it, which is surprising as I like Caroline Munro. She's still around today doing the conventions and things, I'm pretty sure. You see a lot of interviews with her on YouTube and that. Horror Rocker Johnny says, yeah, we both were in Maniac. Marisol says, no wonder I didn't see this on the original list. I watched The Final Terror. Oh, I'm so sorry, Marisol. Well, next week you'll know. You'll be able to vote on that next week. She was a Bond girl. I just watched the last horror film for the first time a month ago, says Don Mack. And Feast Your Peeper said the scenes at Cannes were stolen shots as they had no permits, apparently. Yeah, I seem to remember that there was a lot of just, like I said, guerrilla filmmaking. Kind of like, you know, like, I don't know, like sort of Roger Corman type stuff. And Brandon says, I'm a big fan of Q. That movie is absolutely bonkers. It is. That's a Roger Corman film as well, I think. Roger Gorilla Masks. Rubber Gorilla Masks. Big up the Ted Rogers massive. All these Rogers. She was. You know, when they were doing like the Dusty Bin moment or something like that, when they'd come on and read a bloody, I don't know, like some sort of limerick or something like that, and she would always be the one that came on and was the star guest for the week. A bit like Elaine Page on the Two Ronnies all the time. Rock God says the last horror film was a Section 3 video nasty. Why? I don't know. I voted it third tier. Yeah, I honestly, it's a while since I've seen it. I can't remember it. I seem to remember seeing that and another film called Lady Stay Dead around the same time. Nigel also follows up with, I got the last horror film limited 4K from Severin. The slipcover has it listed as Maniac 2. So right, I've seen Maniac 2 advertised a few times. So essentially they repackaged the last horror film and branded it as Maniac 2. Was that the Italians that did that or something? Caroline Munro is still doing work on Talking Pictures channel. Oh, bless her. Good for her. She still looks great. She really does. Okay, what time are we on? 20 past 11. All this talking, I'm a bit parched. Right, so we have left to vote. Amityville 2, Basket Case, Creepshow, Don't Go in the Woods, Friday the 13th Part 3, and Halloween 3. So still, I'd say 2 or 3 titles there that could bother that top tier. Let's see what's next. Cast your votes now, folks, for Halloween 3. Divisive. Very divisive, but, you know, I think fans tend to lean more towards liking this film nowadays. Released on October 27th, 1982. I remember being on holiday in Great Yarmouth and seeing a bush shelter. And it's a picture of this witch, and it said Halloween 3. And the UK poster had a kind of like this crumbly witch face with these hands. And I remember it saying, "The night no one comes home." And I think I saw this poster after seeing Halloween 1, but before seeing Halloween 2. And I was confused by it. The night no one comes home? What does that mean? Okay, 47 seconds left. Budget of 4.6 million. Box office of 14.4 million. Directed by Tommy Lee Wallace. Music by John Carpenter and Alan Howarth. Tom Atkins, Stacey Nelkin, Dan O'Herlihy. In Santa Mira, the Silver Shamrock Novelties Company manufactures Halloween masks embedded with microchips. These masks are part of a deadly plot, and Dr. Daniel Chalice investigates after a series of strange deaths tied to the masks. Initially disappointed fans expecting more Halloween-style slasher, since this film removes Michael Myers entirely. Over time, many appreciate its uniqueness, its quirky tone, and its twist. 5 seconds left. 4, 3, 2, 1. Vote's over. Oh, what's 1 second? 1 second. Let me just stop that. Go back to that. It's second place. It's beaten Poltergeist. 37 of you voted. Still 88 of you in the chat here, folks. Thank you very much for joining. First place with 20. So 22 of you voted it in first place. 10 of you voted it in second. 3 of you voted it in third. 1 of you in fourth, and 1 of you in fifth. So a lot of Halloween fans here. I know Alan's a huge fan. He thinks it's the best one in the series. And Chris Chiswick as well, my friend Chris Chiswick. He thinks it's like on a par with the original. A lot of people, you know, I remember seeing this for the first time, being utterly disappointed, not getting it, and then probably not until Scream Factory brought out the Blu-ray of it. You remember that special edition that they brought out about 13, 14 years ago or something like that? That was when everybody started getting on the bandwagon again. And that's when I really started to appreciate it. And it's a film that I go back to often. It's a film that Frank and I are both really fond of. Dave says, better than Poltergeist? Nonsense. Apparently so. Apparently so, Dave. Let me just have a compare it to Poltergeist here. So 59% of the voted it in top tier. Okay, first place. And only 43% voted it in a Poltergeist to be in first place. So yeah. Halloween 3 is a good movie, says Chester, but it's different from the first 2 movies. The score is great. The best Carpenter-Howarth collaboration. Yeah, that's one thing I should mention as well. For the Love of Horror this year, the convention in Manchester in it's about 4 or 5 weeks' time. Alan Howarth is doing a live set. So he's just been announced as a last-minute guest, and he's actually going to do a live set on that evening, which is great news. Never seen him play live before. Shamrock says, I was pleasantly surprised by Halloween 3. Yeah, I admire them for doing something different. I really do. I didn't at the time. It irritated the shit out of me. But now you look back at it and you think, yeah, actually, this is okay. We could have done with more of these kind of different Halloween, because it does feel like it sits in that universe still, in that world, you know, because you've got all the band are there. You know, you've got Carpenter producing. You've got Tommy Lee Wallace directing. You've got Dean Cundy is there. You've got John Carpenter doing the music. It just feels like it sits in that Halloween world. And you even get a little snippet of Michael Myers as well. So what's not to like? Lee Wilson says, I need to get the 4K. It's good. It's good. The Shout Factory 4K is very good. Adam Allen says, Halloween 3 is so good. Tony Forai says, just picked up the Steelbook of this. Yes, they seem to be doing those at the moment, those Amazon exclusive ones. Poltergeist is a kids movie compared to Halloween 3. I like to think of it as a gateway horror movie, not a kids movie. It's a gateway horror movie, is Poltergeist. Both had similar shots in there. If you think about it, with the guy pulling his face apart, in Halloween 3 you have the woman with her face is pulled apart when she's blasted in the face by the Shamrock badge. Rubber Gorilla Neil says, it's a great film. Such a shame they included the Halloween trailer within it. Otherwise, so much potential moving forward. Calling it Halloween 3 is a crime, though. Yeah, as a lot of people say, should have been just called Season of the Witch. Absolutely. I love Halloween 3. It's one of my favorites to watch, says John Jones. I even got a new VHS copy along with the 4K. Can't help it with the VHS. Yeah, I've got a Terrifier 3 VHS up there. I don't know why it came as part of a pack, and I'm quite happy to give it away if anyone wants it. Sharon Ball says, I thought the same about The Thing. Really? Okay. Stacey Nelkin is still really attractive person. I know. I have, well, Frank met her, and I stood behind sort of sniggering in the background. Blake says, Cochrane's the worst villain name ever. Rubber Giraffe. Sorry, Rubber Giraffe. Rhubarb Giraffe says, oddly enough, this was the first Halloween movie I saw, and it's still my favorite in the series. Excellent. Good for you, buddy. Tony Forai says, why were they still making masks on Halloween Day itself? Who were they selling them to? I don't know. Like, somebody would have been buying them half price, I think. Halloween 3 grew on people. Poltergeist was amazing from the beginning. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's different in its cult appeal. Thank you, Liana. Good to see you in here. Only one I don't own and never will, says Steve Ross. Oh, okay. Fair enough. I guess you're the one that put it in 5th place. Horror Rock said, looking forward to the Alan Howarth performance, Darren. I'll see you at the bar. Absolutely, mate. Looking forward to seeing you. Adam says, Poltergeist doesn't have dudes banging robots, though. Colin says, on a side note, I watched an old episode of Tales of the Unexpected last night, which had Dean Cundy as director of photography on it. Starred Sandra Locke. Really? I thought Tales of the Unexpected was largely British. So it had an American DOP. Oh, Dean Cundy directed it and Sandra Locke starred it. Right, okay, interesting. I always remember the one with the snake, the kite. Yeah. Okay. It needed the word Halloween in the title for box office appeal. No, I mean, it did and it didn't. I think they were just going Michael Myers was dead. They were going in a different direction, which didn't work. I'd love to see them do something as a nod to this film, though. Something new. It'd be great. Just a TV episode, a single TV episode or something like that. Brandon says, Tony, never thought of that. Cochran was super optimistic that people would still want those masks after he was killed, after he'd killed all those children. Look, I've got a cat visiting me here, look. You gonna look up there, mate? No, get up there. That's all right. Let me just reload this. And we are off with Friday the 13th, Part 3. Can this trouble that top tier for second place? Directed by Steve Miner and released on August the 13th, 1982. 2.2 million budget, 36.7 million at the box office. It has a really low Rotten Tomatoes score. I think it's one of the lowest in the franchise. Critics were mixed to negative. Harry Manfredini did the score. Dana Kimmel, Paul Kratker, Richard Brooker as Jason, of course, plus archival appearances from Amy Steele and Betsy Palmer. 45 seconds left to vote, folks. After the events of Part 2, Jason Voorhees, injured, finds refuge near Crystal Lake. A group of friends spend a weekend at a lake house. Jason resurfaces, kills again, now wearing the hockey mask for the first time. Seen as commercially successful entry, notable for being filmed in 3D and introducing Jason's iconic hockey mask. Critically, it was panned or mixed. Many fans view it as a cult classic or at least essential for its legacy bits. I think it's top 4 for me in the franchise. I love this entry. I love Richard Brooker. I love the way that the kind of Jason was the Jason that we know and love today was born in this movie. Voting's over, folks. And it's finished in second place in the first tier. Incredible. Let's see how that fares compared to The Thing. So again, The Thing had 91% of the vote in first place. Friday the 13th Part 3 had 55% of the vote. Halloween 3 had 59% of the vote in first place. But the tier 2 was stronger, so that kind of bolsters it a little bit. So Poltergeist. So The Thing is first at the moment. Friday Part 3 second. Halloween 3 is third, and Poltergeist is fourth. We really only have Creepshow that can make a change to all of that, I think, but we'll see. We'll see. Just in terms of the split on that vote, 40 of you voted, 22 voted in first place, 13 in second, 5 in third, and nobody voted in fourth or fifth. Very strong vote, nudging Halloween out of the way there. Okay, 86 of you still here. Thank you so much, guys. So pleased with how many of you have turned up for this. Oh, Colin says, Darren, this is Tales of the Unexpected. They had American co-productions on some episodes of Tales of the Unexpected. Ah, okay. Okay, I didn't realize that. Paul Rose says, yeah, Darren, I put earlier we were due a Silver Shamrock sequel. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'd love to see something like that. I kind of liked what they had. I mean, it would have made no sense whatsoever. What they had in store for the end of Halloween Ends, which was the fact that Michael was going to be wearing a Silver Shamrock mask. and they had this whole thing planned out with the Silver Shamrock Factory and all that kind of stuff. And David Gordon Green's gone on record about that. Now, it wouldn't have made any sense because Halloween, as somebody rightly pointed out earlier on there, is trailed in the movie Halloween 3 on the TV. So how any of that would have made sense, I don't know. But it's kind of a nice idea. Awesome 50 said Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. Such a fun movie. Was lucky enough to see a 3D screening at the BFI in London. Fantastic. Oh, wow. They did that there? At the BFI? The British Film Institute? They put the 3D version of Friday the 13th. I didn't know about that. Did they do like a 3D season or something? 3 is proper ropey and the 3D didn't help. Now, come on. You've got somebody sat on the carsy eating his dinner. Richard Brooker and Derek Mears are my favorite Jasons. Yeah, that mask with the traps and all that kind of stuff. That lumbering figure of Richard Brooker on that jetty with that spear gun. It's just the best moment. Paul says, what's not to like? A fun watch and the beginning of a classic look. Absolutely. Lee Wilson liked it, despite the dodgy 3D. Yeah, it was around that time when they were just poking stuff up your nose all the time. John Jones said, I used to find Friday the 13th dull, but it's grown on me over the years and among my favorites. I agree about Brooker. I tried to channel him recently in my own slasher portrayal. Okay. See, what I love about Part 3 is the final showdown. Like, some of the kills look really ropey because of the 3D aspect, but the final showdown with Dana Kimmel is it Dana Kimmel? Yeah, it's Dana Kimmel. Is fantastic. I think it's one of the best in the series. Just all that stuff where, you know, she gets one over on him by hanging him and then he pulls himself up. Then she sticks an axe in his head. Then you get that horrible sequence where she wakes up and he's banging on the window with that big gash in his forehead. Just looks fantastic. Dave's better than Poltergeist? You're all drunk. The voting doesn't lie, Dave. Chester says, Friday the 13th Part 3 is good. Definitely the best Jason, in my opinion. Richard Brooker did great. The disco soundtrack was great. Let's get down with it. And Shamrock says, I agree, Darren. Richard Brooker is my favorite Jason. Rock God Nigel says, I love Creepshow to get the first place. My third favorite film of all time. It's one of my favorites as well, Nige. Definitely. Where are we now? I think your cat thought this was the 1985 list, was going to vote for Cat's Eye. He's still here. He's just there. Look, hello, mate. What are you doing? Love the score to this. Yeah, the score, the disco theme's good fun. I disagree, Darren. I disagree. Dana did a good job as Chris. Yeah, I think she did. I think she's a great final girl. Darren, you said, oh, come on, like Frank there. Yeah, Frank does say that, doesn't he? Adam says, Jason entering the windows after tossing Rick through it, chef's kiss. Yeah, that's a great moment when he just kind of scoops down underneath it. Stephen Green says, remember Dave doing a great little dance to Friday 3 disco soundtrack? I do. I remember that as well. Yeah, it's probably still online somewhere. And Awesome 50 says, yep, Darren, the BFI showed a season of 3D movies. Mark Kermode introduced the Friday the 13th Part 3 screening. It was a sellout. Oh, I'm sure. Okay, we better kick off because I'm conscious of time. Dave's going live at midnight, so I want to be done by then. We're voting now on Don't Go in the Woods. This is one of Dave's favorites. Don't Go in the Woods, or Don't Go in the Woods Alone, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so this was released late 1981, but majority of its earnings are in 1982. So approximately $150,000 budget. $150,000 on this piece of shit. 23% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm staggered it's got 23% on Rotten Tomatoes. This should be 0. James Bryan directed it. Music composed by H. Kingsley Thurber and cinematography by Hank Zinman. John McClelland, Mary Gale Arts, James P. Hayden, Angie Brown, plus supporting cast by Ken Carr, David Barth, Larry Roop, all sorts of people. 30 seconds left to vote, folks. Only 9 of you have voted on this so far. A group of backpackers? A group of backpackers hiking in the woods. Peter, Ingrid, Joanne, and Craig get stalked by a savage killer. Alongside them, various tourists and hikers are murdered in lurid ways. The killer is a wild man donned in furs and rags. There are van attacks, trap killings, and a missing child subplot. Yeah, maybe a lot of that budget went on that van they rolled down the hill, I think. Okay, voting's up. And Rando says, Don't Go in the Woods is one of the worst video nasties. It is. It's kind of like the sort of, for me, this movie's on a par with the production values of something like, what do they call it now? Sleepaway Camp. But at least Sleepaway Camp is fun. Hold on a minute. The vote started on Creepshow. 1 second. It's terrible film. Thanks, Dave. It's awful. It's laughable. I really didn't like this film. So where did it end up? It's at the bottom. Nobody voted it at the top. 1 of you voted it in second. 1 of you voted it in second. 2 of you in third. 4 of you in fourth, and 9 of you in fifth. This is a bad movie, a really bad movie. Widely considered a low-budget camp slasher example. Reviews generally negative due to weak acting, story pacing. However, it's built a cult following because of its gore, absurdity, and so bad it's good vibe. Memorable moments: the scene where the van, remember the van scene? They rolled it down a hill and it burst into flames. The fisherman getting caught in a bear trap, and the final chase to the wild man's cabin with traps and confusion. It's also confusion is also often highlighted. Okay, fair enough. Where are we now with this? Marisol says, I'm owning up to it, placing it in last place. It was so bad you covered. Marisol, did you watch this as well this week? Wow. Tony Randall says, loved going into video stores horror section back in the day, have them all in sequence and alphabetical order. Yeah, it was fun, wasn't it? Good times. Tier 5, you're shitting me. It's so bad it's good. It's better than Swamp Thing for sure, says Rock God. Don Max says, Don't Go in the Woods alone. It's so bad, even the kills suck. And Duke says, I'm surprised this one didn't fare better than Poltergeist. Dave says it meanders. We hadn't had a bottom film for a while, says Tony Four Eyes. That's true. We haven't had some. Yeah, I think the last episode we didn't have anything in 5th tier. Nick says, Don't Go in the Woods or Blood Lake. Darren, which one's the worst one out of the 2? Blood Lake is the worst one. That's got no redeeming qualities whatsoever. And those bastards over at All the Good Names Are Taken made me pay for that fucking film. Friday the 13th part 3 is my favorite Richard performances. Jason and IDC. And I don't care what anyone says. I love Shelley. He didn't deserve to die. And the director did some sound effects for Nightmare 4. Okay. Where are we now? Yes, Darren, call me out. I watched many of these for the first time this week. I admire your commitment to this show we're doing, Marisol, because last week you ended up watching like 7 or 8 movies just to be able to take part. Thank you so much. Rubber Gorilla Mass says, I've missed so many of these. Friday the 13th part 3, better than Poltergeist. Behave. And Nigel says, fun fact, Alone isn't actually part of the title. Yeah, I think it wasn't it like called that in some territories or something like that. I can't remember now, but I know it is on some artwork. Alone at the bottom. Okay, we are now going to Creepshow 2. Now the last vote overran and I didn't press pause in time, so Creepshow 2 we only have 67 seconds to vote, so go now. Vote. At the moment, it's on the 1st tier in 5th place behind Poltergeist. Can we move it up? Creepshow's such a great movie. One of probably the greatest anthology movie of all time, I think. 48 seconds left to vote on Creepshow. George A. Romero, November the 12th, 1982 was the release date. A budget of 8 million with a domestic gross of 21 million. Not bad. Not bad at all. Written by Stephen King. Music by John Harrison, who I believe also was the editor on the film as well. Ted Danson, Liam Neeson, Adrian Barbeau, Fritz Weaver. Anthology horror film in 5 segments, hosted by a young boy reading a comic book. Each story delivers its own macabre twist. Revenge, undead natives, grotesque greed, etc. And Atkins is in this, bookending the whole thing. Beating kids up. Beating Stephen King's kid up. And there we go. I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased. Look at that. It's second. That's how I wanted it to go. In fact, maybe Poltergeist I would put in 3rd place here, but the top tier there is kind of, I'm happy with that. At the moment, we have The Thing, Creepshow, Friday the 13th, Halloween 3, and Poltergeist on that top tier. Come on, buddy, go back up. Go back up. Sorry, just sorting my pet out. So Creepshow, 23% of you voted it in 1st place. 7 of you voted it in 2nd. 3 of you in 3rd, and nobody voted it in 4th or 5th tier. 33 votes in total for Creepshow. Love this film. Absolutely love this film. Creepshow, best film of 1982, says Daz. Go, do it now, says Brett. Great one. Love Creepshow. Love Creepshow. Love tier list chat, says Tony Randall. I can hold my breath for a long time, says Johnny. Best anthology movie along with Vault of Horror. Wow, Vault of Horror as well. I have a big poster for that in here somewhere. The Creepshow 4K is one of the most beautiful looking things I've ever watched. Vault of Horror was released on my birthday way back in 1973. Okay, the Creepshow 4K is one of the most beautiful things I've ever watched, says Brandon. Of course, I love Creepshow. How could you not? Chester, I love Creepshow. Definitely a great movie from 1982. Paul Rose, a joy from start to finish. Just ignore the terrible sequels and the TV series. So Creepshow 2 was good. Creepshow 2 is very underrated. Love Stephen King in Creepshow. Meteor shit. We missed his stash in this. Yeah, Stashless Atkins ain't good. The one flaw of this film is Atkins with no stash. There we go. I love Creepshow. I'm a huge Tales of the Crypt fan. Comics and TV show. So Creepshow was something I immediately got into. Physical Media, Alan says, I only saw Creepshow for the first time 2 weeks ago. I immediately pre-ordered Creepshow 2 from Arrow. Yeah, that's coming through anytime soon, I think. Rock God says, oh, bollocks, the fucking thing beat Creepshow. It was always going to happen. It was always going to happen. Marisol says, watching these movies has been a lot of fun and sends in $5. Thank you so much, Marisol. That's so sweet of you. There's plenty more to come. There's plenty more to come. I'll put all the 1983 ones up on Sunday, and we can get cracking on watching some of those. Creepshow definitely deserves the 2nd position, says Duke. Yes, it made it into 2nd place, says Nick. Neil says, got to tell Tom Savini it was my favorite work of his at a convention. Such a great film. Did he look at you in the eye? Did he even acknowledge you, Neil? Because unless you're wearing a skirt, you don't want to know, apparently. Rando1975 says, recently watched the entire Creepshow TV series. Overall liked it, but very hit or miss. Yeah, it was. I think they're going to release those on 4K at the moment, or Blu-ray. There's a box set of all the series coming out. I really wanted to see an episode. Every week I was longing for them to do a episode on The Crate, like a sequel to The Crate, because we know it bursts out at the end. And I was longing for them to do that. But as far as I'm aware, they didn't. I think I watched the first 2 series and kind of gave up after that. The only thing that keeps me from giving Creepshow a 1st place vote is the Stephen King story. I love that story whenever I watch it. What else have we got here? Okay, we should move on. Oh, another super chat. Brett says, keep it going, bud. Enjoy the weekend. Thank you, Brett. So kind of you. That's really kind of you. Thanks, buddy. And I do watch your episodes every week religiously. They're great to listen to on the train. So, you know I do anyway. And Neil says, I was wearing a miniskirt and stockings. Of course. Yeah, standard. Okay, right. Let's kick off that next penultimate vote. And it is Basket Case. Basket Case was released on April the 2nd, 1982. A budget of around 35,000. The box office data is kind of unknown. Critics have it at 77% on Rotten Tomatoes. Really highly thought of. Frank Henenlotter, of course, or Henenlotter, sorry. Kevin Van Henterick, Terry Susan Smith, Beverly Bonner, Robert Vogel, etc. Dwayne carries his deformed, formerly conjoined twin brother, Belial, in a wicker basket. He seeks vengeance on the doctors who separated them and hides Belial from society. The film blends horror, body horror, and bizarre, grotesque comedy. Despite low budget and crude effects, it's very well regarded among horror cult circles for its weirdness, emotional undercurrents, the grotesque twin premise, and its style. Okay, we've got 30 seconds left on this penultimate movie that we're voting on. Movie Chat and More says, "Hi Darren, thanks for putting Bloody Birthday in the 81 show. Really appreciate it." No, I thought of you when I did that. I think I actually mentioned you when I did it. 14 seconds left, folks. Tony Randall says he loved the practical effects in Basket Case. Yeah, they're fun. They're absolutely fun. I liked Brain Damage as well. That was Henenlotter's other one that he did. Oh, what's happened there? Something happened, whereas we can't vote on the last one. Damn it. We can't vote on Amityville 2. That's such a pain in the backside. Oh, we'll never know where Amityville 2 is going to sit. This happened last week. We lost a vote on The Entity, I think it was, last week. Okay, let's just forget about Amityville 2. Basket Case is better than Poltergeist? Basket Case is utter shite. Only thing worse is part 2. Paul Rose says, "I like monster movies, but this one is just grubby. Prefer Henenlotter's Brain Damage." I think I'm with you on that one. Didn't they do like 3 Basket Case movies? I'm pretty sure they did. So that was the last one, folks. That was the last vote, because something crapped out on Amityville 2 here. Never mind. But as things stand, we have The Thing in first place, Creepshow in second, Friday the 13th, Part 3 in third, Halloween 3 in fourth, Poltergeist in fifth, Silent Rage is in sixth, Pieces in seventh, Tenebrae in eighth, Basket Case in ninth. Wow, 3 of you voted it at the top, 8 in second, 7 in third, 3 in fourth, and 2 in fifth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Madman is in 10th place. Slumber Party Massacre is in 11th. New York Ripper in 12th. Visiting Hours in 13th. Alone in the Dark in 14th. Monster Club in 15th. Extro in 16th. The Last Horror Film in 17th. Return of the Swamp Thing in 4th tier there. And in 5th tier, the worst movie that you guys believe in 1982 is Don't Go in the Woods. That's it. I'm absolute. My voice is really drying up. Thank you so much for joining us, folks. It's really cool that so many of you, there's still 88 of you here watching. Apologies that we couldn't do the vote for Amityville 2. Something happened there at the end. I'll try and fix that next time so we don't lose any of this stuff. But yeah, thank you so much for all the little interactions over the week on the YouTube shorts and the Instagram posts, and the Facebook group, all that kind of thing. It really did kind of build some momentum for this show today, and to have over 90 people in here at one point was just amazing. Thank you so much. 83 is next. I'm going to start putting that together this Sunday. If you want to carry on watching and talking horror, go over to Dave McRae's channel. In 5 minutes' time, he's talking about the Mount Rushmore of horror. So I don't know, Brandon, if you can put the link in the channel to Dave's episode, then people who are enjoying this and like Dave and all that kind of stuff can jump over there and watch that episode as well, because that's exactly what I'm going to do. And Dave's always great fun for that sort of stuff. So, folks, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to try and get something additional out over the weekend. I haven't done like a proper standalone episode for a while. I have some time by myself over the next few days, so maybe I'll put something together. Let me just check the chat before I go that we've got everything here. Would have put Amityville in tier 2, a solid sequel. Yeah, I think that would have probably topped out in the middle to second tier. Amityville 2, shame about that. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Shamrock says, Darren, did you like Frankenhooker? Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. Lee Wilson says, great show. Thanks, everyone. Steve Ross, thank you for the stream, Darren. Myers Fan 73, The Thing rules. Amityville 2 is my favorite of the franchise, so ever underrated, says Colin. Great show, Darren, says Stephen. Great fun, dude. Night all, says Paul. 1984 was the best year, Tony says. Well, we'll find out in a few weeks. Great stream as always, says Chester. Great show, Darren. Love this series. Thanks, Darren. So much fun, says Marisol. Thank you, Marisol, for all your commitment to this. It's great. Awesome show, Darren, says Johnny. Great show, says Colin. Can't wait for 83, says Brandon. Physical media lives. Alan says, great fun, Darren. 83 will be fun. The year I finished school. Wow. When did I finish school? I think I finished in 89. Brilliant show. Oh God, it's a brilliant show as always, says Awesome 50. See you all over in Dave's stream, says Chester. Don Mack. Where's Don Mack? Don Mack. Amityville 2 would have ended in the middle, so not much of a loss. Yeah. There's Dave's link. There we go. Oh, there's Frank's channel. There's Dave's channel. I think that's for the episode that's going on right now. Rubber Gorilla Neil says, cheers, Darren. Much appreciated. 10 p.m. is perfect vodka hour for me. Same with me as well. I was joining you with that. Just the one, though. Okay, that's it, folks. I'll be back hopefully next Thursday at 10 o'clock, and we'll talk some 1983. See you later.